Hello there, my name is Nellie. I'm 15. This is the story of my revenge on my father. He violated my personal space. I didn't think it would go this far, but I simply could not just let this happen. But first things first. My mother died when I was little and I barely remember her. As for my father, he used to be a policeman, always busy, never at home. I was raised by my grandmother who absolutely loved to feed me. It was her favorite thing to do. And I loved all kinds of food, pancakes, donuts, cheeseburgers, and pizza, to name a few. So I gained extra weight at a really early age. In elementary school, I didn't have a lot of friends, and food became some kind of sanctuary for me. And then my grandmother died. And I think for me, the food became some sort of reminder about our good times together in my childhood. When I felt loneliness or insecurity, I would just grab everything we had in the fridge and stuff myself. By 14, I weighed around 200 pounds, and my overall lifestyle wasn't very healthy or active. I tried not to look in the mirror or think too much about my appearance. I preferred focusing on my studies, mostly literature and the history of art. And yes, I avoided any outdoor activities. But things changed when my father retired. He had some background in military forces before becoming a police officer. And he's very active, sometimes even too much. Unfortunately, after his retirement, he put all of his effort into me. I think he tried to compensate for the attention he did not give me when I was younger. But in most cases, his attention just felt awkward. My appearance was the key issue for him, of course. He would drop hints about my weight and suggest different training programs. But I tried avoiding those types of conversations. And then one day at school, students were invited to go on a trip to Europe during spring break, which was coming up in 3 months. I really wanted to go. I knew that my father could easily cover the cost of this journey, and I was very excited. But when I got home and told him about the Euro trip, he looked disappointed. It turned out that he had already sent in an application to put me in a weight loss camp for spring break, without even asking me. I was shocked, but my desire to go to Europe was higher than my desire to express my anger. That is why I restrained myself and brought my arguments. Visiting Europe was a great opportunity to dive into the history of art, which could benefit my future college application, and I had dreamed about visiting museums in Paris and Rome since I was a kid. Finally, my father changed his mind. He agreed to cancel the camp and finance my journey under one condition: that I would lose at least 30 pounds in 3 months. I had to follow all his instructions about diet and exercise. And I agreed, not only because it was my father's desire. Also, I wanted to get rid of my extra weight because there was one boy, Josh. He was definitely going to go on the trip, and I always liked him but felt insecure and overwhelmed in his company. I thought that if I lost some weight, it would be easier for me to be around him. So the next day, my father woke me up at 5:30 in the morning. He set up a place for training in the basement and in the backyard, some sort of obstacle course that I had to go through every morning no matter what, no exceptions. I was to wake up, take a run around the neighborhood, then push-ups, rope climbing, jumping over tires, and pulling up on a bar in the garden, and then do my workout routine in the basement. And only then I was allowed to take a shower and eat my tiny, low-calorie, healthy breakfast. During the first week of this hell, I could barely move my arms and legs. Every muscle of my body hurt, even those muscles I was not familiar with at all. During these trainings, sometimes Father got crazy and would scream at me, using really hurtful words. He treated me like a soldier and obviously enjoyed his power. I was so intimidated. I literally cried. Also, my father got a little obsessed about restricting my diet. He would pack me lunches to bring to school with broccoli and carrots, read all the nutrition labels on the food from supermarket shelves, count all my calories during the day, and watch weight loss tutorials on YouTube. The funniest thing was that at the same time my father continued eating his junk food. We had dinners together almost every night. I had my steamed carrots and fish, while he enjoyed his favorite chicken wings with fries, bread, ice cream, and other delicious stuff. He said he could afford to eat all that because he was in good shape anyway. Obviously, my father made fun of me on purpose, and he tried to make me angry. In his imaginary world, it was a good motivation for me to keep going, but his attitude only made me feel weaker. To be honest, I considered giving up. The Euro trip didn't seem so amazing and attractive anymore compared to one small piece of chocolate, but then I remembered Josh, and it helped me to hold on. My friends at school, Mike and Shannon, noticed that I'd changed and that I had started to look exhausted. They got worried about me and suspected that I had some sort of eating disorder. Even the school psychologist asked if there was anything I would like to discuss. But I was ashamed to share the details of my agreement with my father and just said that I had switched to a healthier lifestyle voluntarily. In 8 weeks, things got easier, and I started getting used to my new lifestyle. I even liked it, and the results were obvious. I lost around 20 pounds. It was even easier for me to breathe now. But one weekend, my father threw a barbecue party in the backyard of our house. It was his 55th birthday, and he invited all of his friends and colleagues from work. The guests enjoyed the barbecue, cake, and all that stuff, while I enjoyed apples and water. At some moment, my father asked me to take a picture of him and his boys and gave me his phone. While my father was busy chatting with his guests, I looked through the photos on his phone just to make sure I took nice shots. And I accidentally clicked on the wrong icon and opened this mysterious application. I saw a video from some sort of fridge. That was our fridge. I briefly looked through the video and realized that my daddy had a tool to track what's going on in our fridge all the time. And I saw myself in the video reaching for something in the fridge. I was very surprised and felt betrayed. How could he do something so disgusting? I didn't tell him anything about my discovery, but I checked the fridge carefully and noticed where the camera was hidden, and then I just closed the fridge and pretended to enjoy the party. I was just furious. All this time, I followed his diet and his stupid rules like an idiot, and this was not enough for him. I mean, webcam in the fridge? Really? Who does that? Later that night, I was sitting in my room with Mike and Shannon and finally revealed my story about the bet with my father and about the fridge. I never really let my emotions out after my grandmother passed 5 years ago, and now I was sitting in front of my friends and crying. They were very touched, and by the end of that evening, we came up with a genius plan. The next week, when my father was out, I invited Mike to come over. He put on a hoodie and mask. We made him look like a robber that broke into our house. I opened the fridge, pretending to be taking some food from it, and then Mike attacked me from the back with a toy knife. We staged my murder. I was screaming for help in front of the open fridge. I cried and called my dad right in front of the camera. Then I fell on the floor and Mike closed the fridge. Then we laughed hysterically, had a yummy dinner together, and then my killer left the house. After approximately 2 hours, I heard the police sirens and my father broke into the house. He looked very scared. I've never seen him so scared in my entire life. Meanwhile, I was sitting on the couch, safe and satisfied. When he saw me alive, he ran to me, hugged me, and started to cry. That was the first time I saw my father cry. But then he pulled himself together and asked me to explain myself. I took him to the kitchen and demonstrated the leftovers of our prank. I took the hidden camera in my hands and told him that his decision to install it in the fridge behind my back was an unacceptable violation of privacy and that he should feel very ashamed. At the same time, I felt a little guilty because my father looked really destroyed when he entered the house. I think this was the very first moment in my life when I saw that he really loved and appreciated me just the way I am. He looked at me like I was some sort of a treasure. Full of confusion, he confessed and apologized. After this evening, my dad changed his attitude to the extreme opposite. Now he allows me anything I want and acts like a caring, loving parent. And I should say that I miss his discipline just a little, because now I have to learn to discipline myself by myself. At the moment, my weight is around 170 pounds, and I plan to continue my transformation into a more active, healthy, and confident version of myself. I adjusted my diet and exercise routine to make them more pleasurable and conscious. This story has taught me a lot. When you try to lose weight, it's not about what others think or say. It's about your relationship with yourself. I got to know Josh a little better during this period, and he turned out to be an ordinary guy. I mean, there was no reason to be so obsessed with him. As for the Euro trip, after my prank, Dad agreed to finance my vacation regardless of whether I finished the program he had set up or not. So in 2 weeks, I'm going to Europe.